Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're asking the question, are digital nomads a dying breed? Why am I asking this? Well, there's a lot of talk. Digital nomads are it's one of these sort of buzzwords that I see throughout the ether of the internet, and I constantly am asking myself, do people really understand what that phrase means? Do I really think that it's something that's a long-term strategy, or maybe not strategy, but phenomenon? And let me be clear as to why I kind of think digital nomads, I think in 10, 15 years, we'll look back and sort of say, oh, that notion was kind of quaint. Yeah, that was something that just sort of fell by the wayside. Why do I say that? One, the cost of travel has changed radically when you look at the aftermath of COVID. COVID itself, to my mind, also is a mark against the future of this notion of being a digital nomad. Why? Again, in the post-COVID world where there's this sort of Damocles hanging over everyone all the time, that there's the possibility that international travel could all just be shut down. Countries could just lock you completely out, even of your home country. All sorts of insane travel requirements. Again, not really conducive to this sort of digital nomad thing. In very much a very real way, I believe this digital nomad phenomenon, if you want to call it that, is a byproduct of sort of peak globalism, which I think we've already passed. I think we've passed that peak and we're sort of moving into a new era. I'm not saying that travel is going to be impossible, and I'm sure I'm going to get burned in the comments. People are going to say, oh, what do you think, man, that people aren't going to travel anymore? Not my point. What I'm talking about is this notion of just sort of kind of wandering around from country to country just in perpetuity. I don't think is going to be an overly viable lifestyle sort of moving forward. On top of that, a lot of countries are starting to really tighten up on their immigration protocols. Many countries don't even, again, in the aftermath of COVID, it's really hard to see a scenario where things become easier from a travel standpoint in terms of sort of living one's life, perpetually traveling. Yes, I'm sure there's always going to be a chain of countries that are going to be easy to go through, and that's going to evolve over time. But the entire phenomenon, I think, is something of an anomaly. As I've discussed in other videos, and I've seen other people out on the internet talking about sort of digital nomadism, and they've sort of said it's not the greatest lifestyle. I've seen a lot of videos, why I stopped being a digital nomad, things of this nature. And a lot of the people I've seen talking about it are kind of talking about the same thing. Notably that it's not a sustainable lifestyle, and sustainable is one of those words that's sort of ubiquitous now, but it just isn't. People have a hard time just sort of living in constant, it kind of reminds me of the movie Up in the Air with George Clooney, where he lived like 2/3 of his year out of hotel rooms and in airports, and he really enjoyed it. And there are people that really enjoy sort of living in airports, I guess, for a period of time, and that's not what I'm saying digital nomads do even. But that lifestyle choice is something that I have watched a number of expats grapple with over the years, finally succumbing to either being what I call sort of a long stay tourist, where they go places and stay for like 3 months at a time, but they sort of have a base, or they basically just become immigrants. As I've said in videos in the past, I had an immigrant mentality after being here for about 2 years. I had sort of decided this is the place I was going to make myself at home, and I began operating based on that presumption. Again, I think this nomad thing is something of a byproduct of sort of peak globalism, a time that has passed. Another thing to bear in mind is the world does not look like it did just a couple of years ago. Different countries, there's a lot of conflict regionally out there in the world, and different countries are now sort of, if you will, congealing into different blocks that are not so friendly with each other. Again, that globalism era seems to have come to an end, and I speculate to say that perhaps digital nomadism may be ending along with it.